Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Dan Cheeseman, Membership Director here at the Chicago Interactive Marketing Association. For anyone new to CIMA, we're focused on connecting, developing, and elevating Chicago's marketing community, bringing together professionals across brands, agencies, tech, and students to learn from each other and grow together. Today's conversation is centered around something we all experience, but don't always talk about openly: getting stuck. Not stuck because we don't know what to do, but stuck in the gap between knowing and actually moving forward. In a fast-moving industry like ours, that gap can show up in a lot of ways. Overthinking, hesitation, or just feeling like the momentum isn't there when you need it most. Before we jump in, a couple quick notes. We'll spend about 40 to 50 minutes on today's content with a few interactive prompts along the way, a worksheet you can download and complete, and we'll wrap with a Q&A at the end. This session is designed to be interactive, so please use the chat throughout. Feel free to share questions, reactions, or quick thoughts as they come up. We'll do our best to weave them into the discussion as we go. And with that, I'm excited to introduce Beryl Greenberg, who's going to help us break down what stuck really is, and more importantly, how to move through it. Beryl, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Dan, and welcome to everybody. I love your creativity and your metaphors of the season you're in and the series you're in. I can see that we're all in different places, yet there are definitely some commonalities. So as Dan said, we're talking about your next steps in your career. And there are things you know you need to be doing or you've decided you want to do, but there's something keeping you stuck. We designed this particular webinar to build off the last one that you had, where you talked about your positioning and your brand and the value that you bring. And so I'm holding that you know some of that. No one has that all figured out. And we're really focusing on what's the gap between where you are and where you want to go. So let me get to here. Okay. And if I experience technical difficulties, Dan, just chime in. So how we're going to talk about what we're going to go through today is we're first going to get grounded in where you currently are and where you want to go. And we're going to identify what that stuck thing is. And we're going to learn about how to interrupt that and what to do about it. I have a 3-step process that I'm going to take you through. And our hope is that we will leave with some renewed energy, perspective, motivation, and one step that you've decided you're going to take to move forward. As Dan mentioned, this is a more of an interactive workshop. So I really am encouraging your participation. We're going to be using the chat quite a bit. I'm going to be doing a couple of surveys. I will even ask for a live volunteer. So I really would like to encourage you to be fully present and focused. On that note, what is one thing you can do right now to up your level of focus and attention and decrease your level of distraction or of distraction? So I encourage you to think of one adjustment you can make and take that right now. Awesome. Okay, so Dan told you just a little bit about me, and I want to add a little bit of context for you so you know that I have kind of been in the same shoes you've been in or that you're in. I started my career at FCB. May FCB rest in peace. It was sunsetted late last year. We're all very sad about that. And I had an amazing time. I loved my work. The problem was there was too much of it. And I worked 80-hour weeks, and I wanted more out of my life than working. I wanted to have a life outside of work. And I was stuck in a belief that I have to work this hard That's just a foregone conclusion, and I don't know how to get out of this. I was able to overcome that belief, and I made a move into executive search. And I worked for a company called Tessa Reynez that you've probably never heard of because it doesn't exist anymore. It was an executive search firm that specialized in marketing and advertising. And I was able to create the life I wanted as a recruiter. I was able to exponentially progress my career and also exponentially progress my personal life. I got married. I had 3 kids. I know I was chatting with somebody about 3 boys. And I created a really awesome work-life blending. And I developed a belief that I have so much flexibility. How will I ever get that again? And that kept me stuck, especially when it was time for me to further my career in a different way. I stumbled upon coaching and I got stuck, and it was really intriguing to me, but I got stuck on a belief that was, I am not an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur was never a part of my vision board. It was never something that I thought I wanted to do. And really the best way for me to become a coach was to become an entrepreneur. So it took me a while to actually get coached and overcome that belief so that I could launch my career as a coach. That was 17 years ago. Yes, I'm that old. So you now can see that I have experience in the marketing and advertising world, and I've made a couple of different pivots. And that's what I do in my practice as an executive and career coach. I work with individuals and groups to help you get from here to there with more ease and flow. So let's hear a little bit more from you. I have 2 quick poll questions, and Dan is going to launch the first one for you. Tell us on a scale of 1 to 5, how clear are you right now on your next career move? From completely foggy at a 1 or crystal clear to a 5? I can't see the poll, Dan, so, oh wait, yes I can. There we go. Oh, can we?
So you should see it in the upper right. I saw
Yes,
people, couple people.
I opened it. It says poll 2.
Yep.
Poll. Okay, what's the poll that you're showing right now?
How clear are you right now on your next career move?
Okay. Oh, I see here. Now it's telling me. All right. I saw 2 polls. Never mind. But I can't see the results. So
Okay.
you'll have to share those for us.
Yeah, has everyone found it? It's in the upper right. There's a purple graph icon. You want to click and mark that, and then we'll share the results. Got a couple votes. We can probably just get started just to move this along.
Sure.
We've got 1 for completely foggy.
Yeah.
2 for I have a hunch. 2 for getting warmer, and 1 for pretty sure so far.
Awesome. I expected to have a range, but it's good to just kind of name it for yourself on where you're at. Okay, so wherever you're at on your next career move, the next question is, how often does something keep that move on pause for you? How often is something stopping you from taking a next step? From 1, rarely, I'm basically fearless, to 5, it's basically my full-time job being in procrastination or avoidance mode.
And the poll is live, and we're starting to see some results come through.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Give it 30 more seconds. Got 7 votes so far. All right. We'll wrap it up here. We got 8. We got 0 for rarely, 1 for occasionally, 3 for more than I'd like, 3 for often enough to be annoying, and 5 or I'm sorry, one for it's basically my full-time job.
Okay. So we're all getting on pause in some way, is basically the moral of that story. Okay. So let's get a little bit more specific so that you can understand where you are and where you want to go and what's stopping you, what's putting you on pause. So in the chat, Dan is going to put a link to a Google worksheet. If you would like, you can download that, make a copy, and use that to follow along and jot down your notes. It's not a requirement. No one else is going to see it besides you, and there is no grade here. Because I'm going to be asking you a series of questions so that you can have a deeper understanding of where you are and where you want to go to guide the rest of our conversation today. So first, on where you are now, write a headline about your current role. It might be something like, I'm a professional recommender. I'm a data analyzer. I'm a social media maven. However you would write that headline of where you currently are. Then jot a couple points about what do you love about it? I love being creative. I love working collaboratively. I love digging into a spreadsheet. Get just whatever is on the top of your head. And then what feels off, unfinished, not motivating or satisfying to you about it? Maybe it's I'm sitting in front of a computer too much, or I want to get outside more, or whatever doesn't feel complete for you. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do this. I'm just going through and giving you some examples. On the other side, where you want to go, write a headline about your future role. Now, you can determine the time frame for future. It might be a month from now. It might be 10 years from now. Doesn't matter. You're just kind of thinking about some time frame in the future for you. What's different about that role that's important to you? And what's got you a little hesitant or scary or uncertain about that role? So I'm gonna, there is a timer on here. I was gonna do that, but I'm gonna set a timer for another minute and think about that and complete that, those questions. And then we're gonna do a quick share. Done.
And then I might add, if you're unfamiliar with Google Docs, you just click File, make a copy, rather than request edit access. So she shared the link, so it's view only. So you just make a copy and then you should be good to go.
Okay, you got about 30 seconds more. Whatever you've got is great. Thank you for sharing, Lisa. About 10 more seconds. The beauty of having the worksheet is that you can go back and fill in the gaps on your own. Okay, wherever you're at is great. And I want you to think about what's in the middle here. What is the gap between where you are and where you want to go? This is what we're going to talk about here. The difference between where you are and where you want to go and what's stopping you. When I think about the gap, I think about it in two different buckets. Okay. There's what I call the real intangible things. These are your skills, your experience, your connections, maybe what's going on in the marketplace of the industry, the fact that we're got so much change going on, or maybe you're in the midst of a job search and you're not getting a lot of feedback. These are all real, tangible things that impact you in that gap between where you are and where you want to go. And for the most part, there are ways to figure out how to fill in those gaps. If you identify skills you don't have, you can figure out how to gain that experience, as an example. There's a whole nother bucket that's included in this gap that we don't often pay attention to, and it's actually impacting us even more so. And that's what's in your head. It's the have-tos, the shoulds, the can'ts, the lack of confidence, the doubt, the perfectionism. It's got to be just right before I can move forward. Or maybe it's a sense of, I'm just really comfortable right now, and doing anything else seems very scary or uncertain. All these narratives in our head actually influence our ability to even tackle those things that are real. Okay, so this is really the invisible force that we want to be focusing on that we don't really pay much attention to. It is a force, and this force has a lot of different names that you've probably heard of. Limiting beliefs, inner critic, the chatter in your head, imposter syndrome, gremlin. I happen to subscribe to a philosophy where we call it the saboteur. Okay, this is all just different names for this same force. And this is the force that is in that gap between where you are and going towards what you want. Before I go on, it's hard, I don't see a lot of faces, so I can't tell if you are nodding or if you have any questions. So if there is a question about this or it's not clear, please put it in the chat. So when you think about this force, I'm going to give you some tips on how to notice this force. But when you hear this, I want you to think about what it's costing you. Okay? How is this force impacting you? Maybe you're hesitant to have a conversation. Maybe you didn't go for a role that you really wanted but didn't think you were qualified for. Maybe you just haven't even started to make that move. Okay? So I would love to hear a couple of people share in the chat. What are some of the costs that you notice now that I've named what this force, how it might impact you? What do you notice in yourself how this is impacting you? Any takers?
None in the chat so far. And if anyone wants to unmute and share, feel free.
So while you're getting up the courage to share, remember when I introduced myself and I said, I gave some of the beliefs that I had to get over. So the belief that I have to work this hard, that cost me a lot of time, stress, frustration in my day job, so that I didn't have time to figure out what was next. When I was at the executive search firm, the fact that I had this awesome flexibility, that kept me there way longer than I should have been there. Mike said, the cost is not having enough time to do your business because you're doing a lot of different things. So the belief there is, I don't have enough time. And Time is finite. And sometimes that belief, I don't or I can't, is a gap, is a force. The cost is losing comfort. Yes. And switching is stressful. Very. All right. Thank you for those two examples. So there is a real cost to this. And that is why we want to examine and get to know this force a little bit better. I want to assure you that this force is not a character flaw. It is not something that is unique to you and that there's something wrong with you. It's actually quite universal. We all share this phenomenon, if you want to call it that way. Even people that write the books about this, they suffer from this force. And some of the reasons that we don't pay enough attention to it is because it's kind of internal and invisible, and it sneaks up on us in a way that it kind of takes over before we even know it. It's relentless. It becomes a habit. And yes, it's fueled by fear. One of you said you're losing comfort and making a change is stressful. That fear of it makes it get stronger. Okay. One last thing I'll say about this force is that it partners up. It partners up with other stressors and emotions inside of us. And it also partners up with other people's stressors and forces. Have you ever been in a meeting where somebody comes in really triggered and stressed, and then the whole meeting gets really out of whack because everybody absorbed that energy? And then all of a sudden, it's that force that's having the conversation in the meeting as opposed to the people that really wanted to show up there. So this is a really powerful, habitual scenario that if we can catch it earlier, we can switch earlier into something that is much more empowering and productive, especially for the person that was talking about time. This costs us a lot of time because it costs us a lot of energy. So this is actually the first step in the 3-step process, is to be able to see this force happening. You know that saying, when you can name it, you can tame it? That's what we're referring to here, okay? When you can catch the force in the act, you are lessening its power. So I'm not going to just tell you, all right, you got to notice it and then move on. I want to give you a few tips on how you can know that it's there. And I put that into 4 different categories. The first is physically in our bodies. We can notice when that is happening. The stress, the knot in your stomach, the tension in your shoulders, the grinding of your teeth, all of those are signals that this might be going on. The next area are feelings or emotions. I'm going to use those terms interchangeably. We could get technical and they're not interchangeable, but I'm not going to go there. So maybe it's frustration or overwhelm or disappointment, okay? All of those are signs that this force is there. Patterns of habitual patterns that keep showing up. I notice that I get sucked into email before, and then half my day is gone and I haven't done anything. Or maybe it's procrastinating on rewriting the cover letter. Those are all patterns that can be a signal that something's up here that's preventing you from getting where you want to go. And I already gave you a whole list of words that happen in our heads around that are clues that this force is there. So the I can't, I should, I shouldn't, no, anything that feels kind of negative can be a signal. Now, I want to just point out that this doesn't mean that these feelings aren't valid and they don't happen. We're not talking about preventing them from happening. We're all human. We're going to get frustrated. We're going to get overwhelmed. It's being able to notice it sooner so that it doesn't take over. So I'd love to hear what is helpful to you here around noticing. What is one of these 4 areas of noticing that might be of use to you? What would you like to try to look out for? And put it in the chat. Physical sensations and feelings. Kirsten, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you. Maybe you can share a little bit about what physical sensation do you already notice? We probably all have some idea of where our stress shows up. Patterns, negative words. Excellent. Love that, Allison. Yes, how you speak to yourself totally matters. And what would you say to a friend is a great reframe. Please remind me of that because we're going to get to that. Excellent. Okay, so step number 1 is see it, notice it. That's all we're saying we need to do. This is a quote that I found recently that really dimensionalizes the power of noticing the physical sensation. Someone told me yesterday that when we feel nervous about trying something new and their heart starts beating really fast, they call it their inner applause because their body is cheering them on. And I think that's the best narrative adjustment ever. This demonstrates to you that when you can notice that physical sensation of your heart beating, you have to notice that in order to be able to have that narrative adjustment. So your heart beating fast is an alert that can go 2 ways. It can go, OMG, something's wrong, or it can go, oh, I want to listen to this and I want to use this. So that's step number 1 is noticing in some way. Step number 2, stop. Once you notice, you need to take a pause. There's huge power in the pause. Now, what's important here is you're not only pausing from the trigger, but you're also not thinking about it, fighting it, rationalizing it. You're actually taking a break from it. Okay? Now, it could be something that's a big break or a small break. We're going to get into that. I'm going to give you some suggestions. But you got to know to stop and take that pause. And the best example that I wanted to share with you is there was a TEDx talk that was issued earlier this year from a creative director, an award-winning creative director who did a whole TED Talk on the art of the pause. So I'm going to play just a few minutes, like a minute or 2 of it, and then we'll give you the link to the whole thing to listen to at another time. Everyone hear it? Yep. Okay, great.
Hello, Culver City. It is such an honor to spend this time with you. For the last 30 years, I've spent working in the business of creativity. I've led award-winning creative teams in the art of persuasion. And I'm here to persuade you to do something radical. To do absolutely nothing. Seriously. Ugh, so cringe, as my daughters would say. The uncomfortable silence, the uncontrollable urge to fill all the empty space. Why? Why would I stand here on this red dot dedicated to ideas worth spreading, the clock running, and waste my precious time and yours? Burnout.
That's just a quick overview, but I found it really powerful that a woman who's dedicated her life to persuasion is trying to persuade us to take that pause. Now, in her TEDx talk, she demonstrated 2 of the pausing tactics, and I want to emphasize those to you and give you a couple of more. She demonstrated the power of breath. As I alluded to earlier, you can go into a meditation room. That's not always accessible to all of us, especially in the middle of a meeting. But just taking a moment and taking a deep breath can really help switch our brain activation. This is all rooted in neuroscience, and I'm not going to go all neuroscience-y on you. Just trust me. This is all based on a lot of research. The other one she demonstrated very quickly is the sense of touch. She touched her fingers while she was counting, and focusing your attention on your sense of touch by maybe rubbing your fingers together, or I don't know if you saw earlier, I was rubbing my hands together and feeling the sensations and the temperature, is a way that moves your brain focus from the bad stuff we were talking about and helps you switch to the other part of your brain where the good stuff happens. 2 other tactics: take a break and get away from your screen. Maybe even just look out your window. Out my window here, there's a tree, and I often just look over there and focus on the leaves swaying in the wind. Or sometimes in the morning, I'll go for a walk and listen to the birds sing. Speaking of listening to a song or a podcast or anything that's not about the thing you're stressing about, okay? All of these are switchers. Now, you might notice a commonality between them. They all help us focus on one of our senses. And that is deliberate here, because that is a way that our brain can refocus. I'm just reading what you said, Allison, that yes, absolutely. Commanding the power using the tone of your voice can be another way to switch things up. So what appeals to you? What is a switching mechanism that you might want to try the next time you notice that force in action? Maybe it's something that you want to do more of that you're already doing, or maybe it's something that you want to try that you haven't tried before. Would love to hear that in the chat. And I'll tell you that the physical sense of touch thing really works. I've even used that in the dentist's chair, where I focused on wiggling my toes instead of all the drilling and spraying. And it really helped shift my focus. Okay, in the essence of time, if you have something, please share it in the chat. I'm going to go ahead. So this was step 2. Step 1 is notice. Step 2 is pause. And thank you, Anne. Get away and go for a walk. I highly recommend it, and it is a game changer. Step 3 is to shift. Okay, we're shifting from something that feels like a threat, something that we're afraid of, something that we're avoiding, something that has us in a reactive mode. We notice that, we pause from it, and now we want to shift toward something that is much more motivating and exciting for us. And that might be something that we're curious about, more possibilities, creativity, taking some kind of a step, or just being able to move forward in some way. So I'm going to give you a few ways that once you've paused, you can shift into a different zone, okay? And this is a shift of a zone from one place to the other. And if you just saw my dog walk in, I apologize. He was supposed to not do that. So we're moving from away from something and toward something else. Thank you, Anne. He is my one of my shifters. Thank you, Allison. And by the way, his name is Wrigley. So go Cubs. So we're shifting away from something that's not working for us, and we're trying to move toward something else. That something else, there are 5 questions you can ask yourself to help that shift. One of you said, talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend. Okay, that's the compassion and empathy question. How can I give myself some more grace? How can I give someone else a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt? Maybe they didn't really mean what they were saying. Okay, so that would be one way to shift. Another way to shift, we're going to try to get him away from me, is what's really important to me about this? What's really meaningful? When you're moving towards something that you really enjoy or is important to you, it really shifts the way you look at it. What do I want to learn here? What is something that I can find more information about? How can I be creative? What's a new way to look at this? Maybe I want to brainstorm. And the last shifting mechanism is getting into focused action. Any type of focused action. It does not need to be taking a step on the thing that's got you stuck. Any action will influence more action. So for instance, maybe you're really stuck on something in your job search, but you love to paint. Okay, take a step towards painting. That's going to fill you up, and that spills over into your job search. So this is not just a physical shift. This is a mindset shift that I'm talking about. And the queen, I call her the queen of mindsets, is a woman by the name of Carol Dweck. And she wrote a book all about mindset. In a growth mindset, challenges are exciting rather than threatening. We're not talking about getting rid of the challenges. We're talking about shifting our perspective about it so that we want to go for it. When we're in that threatening place, really hard to go for it. When we can somehow look for something that's exciting, much more likely to move forward on it. So our 3 steps 1, name the force, see it. Look in your body, your feelings, the patterns, the words. Then stop it. Take a pause, step away consciously, and focus on something else, probably related to your senses. And 3, make that mindset shift. Move towards something that's exciting and interesting to you, not away. So here's where I'm going to invite you to think about your gap between where you are and where you want to be. And how do you think this 3-step technique might impact you? I'm going to ask you to reflect, and I'm also going to ask for somebody to volunteer so that I can very quickly live take you through that process so you can see how this works. And while you guys are thinking about yourself and who wants to volunteer, I am going to get the dog out of the room because he is distracting me. So if you're interested in being a volunteer, please raise your hand and put your thoughts in the chat. I'll be right back. Could you please keep them out there? All right. I know I didn't give you a lot of time, but do I have anyone that wants to volunteer to go through this real quickly with me? It's going to be like a minute. I'm doing the Jean Bethany pause.
Any brave volunteers? If not, feel free to put me on the spot.
All right. I'll hit this pin. Did I do that right? I don't see you though, Dan.
Oh.
There you are. Okay, great. Thank you for volunteering. This is going to be quick and harmless.
Okay.
Give us the headline of where you're at, of your current situation, and your headline of where you want to go. So one line.
Sure. Agency sales leader looking to transition from recruitment marketing to traditional marketing.
Awesome. Thank you. And what do you notice is the force, that gap, that invisible gap that is in between there that might be stopping you from reaching your goal? One of the things.
Sure. On the agency side, I've sold programmatic media, and making the transition, it's a different programmatic software with similar metrics. I need to be able to elaborate on the similarities and look to get certifications to speak to those a little bit more clearly and have something to show for it.
Awesome. So those are some of the tangible gaps. I want to hear what the intangible, that narrative that is impacting your ability to go get those certifications or talk about it clearly.
Sure. The fear of change and just time is the element. But I've actually started to get the DV360 certification started. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Fear of change, though.
Yeah.
That's a big one that I'm sure everybody's head could nod about that. So when that shows up in your head, what is one pause technique that you might want to try to step away from that?
I would have to say being able to, the breathing techniques always work well. I think one of the newer ones that you mentioned that was at least new to me is the sense of touch, just like touching your hands when you're nervous, or just to ground yourself. I think that's a great point.
Awesome. And just do that right now, a little bit. I took out one of my fidgets. This is one of my pausing techniques. What are you moving toward that you're really excited about with this shift?
Exploring new opportunities and getting back to what I've done in the past, that's something that really excites me. Just making that transition, and as I mentioned earlier, just trying to elaborate on those details and connect the dots between the programmatic software from recruitment marketing to traditional marketing.
Got it. And if you were to name one new way to shift toward that in a bigger way, we talked about creativity, curiosity, possibility, taking one step, maybe even outside of the job search. What's one new thing you might want to try?
Continue to be curious, always ask questions, and continue to network.
Awesome. So if you were to take that awesome bucket list of things, what's one thing you want to try in the next week that you want to commit to?
Continue to network. In what I'm noticing is most people in this situation need to move away from the job boards at some point and continue to push their network and ask for referrals and get out of your comfort zone.
Awesome. If you were to break that down into a small, tangible step that you can say, yay, in the next week, like I'm going to contact this one person I've been hesitating, or I'm going to generate a list of people I want to reach out to. What is a even smaller step that you want to commit to?
One networking outreach per day, so five a week minimum.
Sounds great. Thank you very much for volunteering. Everyone give Dan a round of applause. And I want to encourage each of you to create a next step. Dan, I don't know how to take you off pin. I want to encourage each of you to create a teeny tiny next step, just like we did with Dan. Think about one small step you can take that you're going to commit to in the next week. And you may need to practice those steps in order to take the step, but at least identify what it is right now. And if you want to really hold yourself accountable, put it in the chat on what your next step is. While you're doing that, I want to encourage each of you to celebrate whatever you've gotten out of today, whatever you're going to try. This is actually the fourth step in the process, because we often don't give ourselves enough credit for what we are doing. We just beat ourselves up over what we're not doing. And so I want to commend each of you for being here and for listening so well and for participating. That in and of itself is a win. So thank you. And keep those emojis coming. Okay, so let's do, you know what, I'm going to curtail this a little bit, Dan, because we're getting close on time. And I would like to just hear in the chat, which step do you think is going to be most helpful to you moving forward? What do you want to try? The see it, the stop, or the shift? Or maybe you're an overachiever and you want to try all three. I'll take that too. Taking more walks, love it. And while you're sharing that, I just want to give you another opportunity. If you'd like to go deeper and to learn more about this gap, I have a free assessment that you can take. It's called the Saboteur Assessment. And you can either email me at beryl@coachberyl.com, or link in with me. In both cases, please say saboteur assessment. I get a lot of inquiries so that I know that this is where you're coming from, and I will send you the free assessment. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to open it up for questions. And while I'm doing that, taking more walks, all three. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
And before we kick off the questions, just want to say thank you to everyone for their participation. On behalf of everyone at CIMA, thank you for helping our community get unstuck and take the next step in their careers. Whether it's finding a new opportunity, growing where they are, or simply building momentum, we truly appreciate your partnership and the energy you brought to today's session. Thank you, Beryl.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop the recording, and then we can just go from there with the questions.
Great. I hope there are questions because I threw a lot out at you.